Darrington Glover, talking about his 49ers, kind of doing a draft recap, if you will. Darrington, what's good, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing, Eric?
I'm all right. I'm all right. So let's talk about your 49ers. I didn't realize you guys only have 5 picks, but you went primarily offensive side of the ball, except for your first pick, of course. You took Mr. Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle out of South Carolina. How are you feeling about your draft?
Um, I would say first round, I feel good, and then like what we did in the sixth, seventh round, I'm like picking up an additional tight end. Not sure why we did that. I understand why we went wide receiver again, just because that was a position of need, and we're looking at turning over some of the talent that we have there. But overall, I think it was sweetened by being able to trade for Trent Williams. I think a lot of people did not expect us to do that. And I would say that made me feel a lot better about it.
Okay.
But,
Let's talk about Marquise Goodwin, man, because I mean he's no longer a part of your team. He got sent over to actually conveniently to my team, Philadelphia. So, your thoughts on Marquise Goodwin and the impact now that these young wide receiver in your group are going to be making.
well, Marquise had a good initial year when he came to San Francisco, but then he was pretty much injured and it's next man up, as we all know, once the injuries hit. So he kind of played the injuries kind of moved him out of that rotation. So we had some other players like Kendrick Bourne step up. We want to try to see what Richie James is going to provide us. We're getting, Jalen Hurd back from injury. He was out all last year. We spent a second-day pick on him. So we want to see where that's going. And then we had the ascension of Deebo Samuel, who essentially became our de facto number one receiver last year as a rookie. So, we were able to move on from him. And it's really John Lynch looking at the salary cap and saying, okay, who can we move on from? Where can we get younger at from a talent standpoint and try to keep this under control?
All right. So I have to ask you because I'm very surprised that, again, defensively, Javon Kinlaw was the only guy that you guys picked up in the draft. And if you ask me, looking back to the Super Bowl, that appeared to be a small piece going up against Patrick Mahomes. I expected your defense to find a way to shut him down. But as we know, Mahomes is a human cheat code.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing, now that the draft is over, are you seeing the 49ers kind of address those needs with the free agents and undrafted talent that's out there?
That's to be determined. I think without having OTAs and voluntary workouts and all of that over the summer, you can't really say what these undrafted rookie free agents are going to be able to provide. If we're just looking at it at face value for what it was when we're talking about the draft altogether, I think that's one place we missed out on as far as being able to enhance our secondary. Richard Sherman's getting old, and then we had inconsistent play on the other side of him. And I just want to see what we're going to do from that standpoint, because Ahkello Witherspoon was not the answer. He was beaten too often, and he made a couple of boneheaded plays. So I just want to see where we go and how we address that. I understand what they're doing by keeping the defensive line stacked, because if you have a good pass rush, that helps offset your pass defense because the quarterback doesn't have enough time to throw the ball.
Very true. So overall grade, before I let you get out of here, that you're giving your 49ers in this year's draft?
Right now, I'd say an incomplete, because and the reason I say that is because we traded for Trent Williams. He's on the last year of this contract, and that's a large part of our draft as well, because we played it very nice as far as Joe Stanley retiring, and we knew he was retiring before the draft. Nobody else knew that, and that's one of the good things about having good relationships with your players, that they'll keep that close to chest and allow you to make the specific moves that you need to make from an organizational standpoint before letting things out of the bag. And that's what allowed us to get Trent Williams for basically the low. We gave up a fifth-round draft pick in this year's in this current draft, and then a third rounder next year. So
Right.
we didn't give up a lot of draft capital for somebody that could potentially help us solidify that position for the next 5-6 years, because he's still relatively young when you think of it.
Wow.
So
You go ahead. Go ahead. Finish that. Go ahead. I
yeah,
want to hear
so
the rest of this.
that's where I get the incomplete, because if we can sign him to a decent deal that doesn't have that doesn't put a tremendous strain on us from the salary cap perspective, and still allows us to make moves, then I mean I would put that more of a B range, because we didn't have a lot of draft capital to begin with, and so we made the maneuvers that we needed to do to find the right people to fill in immediate holes. So with Brandon Ayuk and then Javon Kinlaw, I mean, it's just right. The Kinlaw pick was right in Lynch's wheelhouse. That's what he goes after. He goes after offensive linemen, and he goes after defensive linemen. That's how he knows the Bucks built their teams that he was on that were good back in the day, and that's how all the great franchises. That's what they look at. They're solid in their front.
All right. One last, I have to get this one out to you because I just have to hear it from you. Are the San Francisco 49ers going to repeat as NFC West champions? Knowing what you know, but OTAs and training camp and, barring health and injury, are the 49ers still the team to beat in the NFC West?
I say yes until proven otherwise, but the NFC West is probably the toughest division there is in the NFL right now. When you think about the moves that the Arizona Cardinals have made, the Seattle Seahawks are always going to be a tough team, especially when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL there, Russell Wilson. And then you can't discredit the Los Angeles Rams. They're still a talented team. I just want to see if they're able to put it all together and have a consistent season. I mean, I could see it being a real battle to win that division. But who was it? I think it was Mike said when we were doing the actual draft cast that I agree with him. I could see 3 teams coming out of that division now that the playoffs have been expanded just the same. And I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me at all if a team from the NFC West ended up in the Super Bowl again, just because of the talent that presides there. And yes, it's been good front office management by some teams outside of the Rams. And then it's also been luck, because you're able to get talent because you've been bad. And I guess that goes back to the Cardinals and the Rams again. But I mean, I expect us to be in a position to go back there. Our window is only but so big. And you can see it right now. Like Richard Sherman probably has one good year left in him. I mean,
Okay.
He's getting older, and he's able to disguise what he's able to do because of that, the type of defense we run. But we'll see our roster start to transition probably after this next season. You'll see some turnover in it, because we have to pay George Kittle coming up. So that's going to take a massive amount of money. And I already mentioned Trent Williams, wanting to keep him. If we're going to trade for him, you don't give up a left tackle like that. He's a great player. What is it? Similar to what his dad did with the Broncos and trading for Gary Zimmerman. Same amount of Pro Bowl appearances, same amount of all NFL teams, same age. And what did he do? He propelled them to a couple of Super Bowl championships.
Right. Well, my man Darrington Glover joining me talking to a 49ers draft recap. I can definitely see it, and it's kind of funny because if you look just in the last, 2-3 years, I mean, the Rams been to the Super Bowl, NFC West. 49ers went to the Super Bowl, NFC West. So, I mean, right there in the mix, if Arizona and Seattle want to get their shot, like you said, I would argue the NFC West being the toughest division, and I only say that because of what the NFC South is doing, but I'll give you the nod right now because we don't know how these teams are going to be able to gel together. Darrington, we're going to keep this conversation going next time, brother. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Darrington Glover, your man Eric Wilson, Sports Arena. I'll talk to you guys really soon. Everyone have a great night.